I want to make the patch 14.10 ADC tier list. And then I also want to make essentially like going over the build for every single champ. But it's going to be 2 separate sections and then it'll be 2 different YouTube videos. So I want to do build fast. We're going to be like, okay, quick. Fast. This will also be another YouTube video where we go over the build for every single ADC.
Doesn't get better than this.
So I believe Ezreal, he goes like PTA, cut down Q. They're all kind of the same right now. You're gonna go heal or exhaust if they have assassins, you know, cleanse. Let's do summoner spells first just to get that out of the way. The same summoners will apply for every single champ. You go exhaust if they have assassins, and like low range champs that dash onto you, like Samira, Xayah, Draven, these types of champs. You go cleanse if they have CC. You go heal. Otherwise, you go barrier if your support goes heal, or if you just want to see like how broken the heal is. And then for runes, you're going to be running, you know, PTA, Presence of Mind, Bloodline, all that good stuff. And just like either going Magical Footwear and Biscuit Delivery, or going Mana Flow, Transcendence, or even Mana Flow, Gathering Storm. The secondary runes are a little bit just presence, to be honest. Bloodline, I remember Haste. I actually forgot about the new Haste rune. Maybe the Haste rune is good? I'm not too sure. It could be good, yeah. I guess you should go Haste. Good call, good call. Now for items, it's just like kind of old Ezreal, to be honest. You're gonna get Tear, Early Recall, then you're gonna get like Trinity Force, then you're gonna get Mana Immune. Where the fuck is Mana Immune? And then you're gonna get Lucidity Boots as well, and Serilda. Typically, I think. Or you go Black Cleaver. I think Black Cleaver was something that Dragdar was talking about as well, because Black Cleaver got buffed, and it's a lot of haste. Not Serilda third. Shojin third, or Black Cleaver third, and then if you go Shojin, you just go the other one fourth. Where the fuck is Black Cleaver? Something like that should be your go-to build. Then the last item will just be like situational. I guess even Black Cleaver could be situational, right? Maybe you want, instead of that, you want like Lifesteal from Hydra or something like that, or even Mercurial if you need QSS, but then probably you should want to cleanse. But you got some options there. You definitely got some options there. But pretty boring because it's just like the old, you know, an old champ or an old build for the champ. BT for lifesteal. Oh yeah, true. BT is not crit now, so BT for lifesteal is better than Hydra, unless you have inhibs down and you want to clear waves. I need to put the fucking... Okay, so the tier list on my other screen. And then we got Smolder. So Smolder, you go Fleet. That's what you went last patch. Not much changed. Probably Ability Haste rune should be pretty good on Smolder as well. If you're going to go Essence Reaver, I guess probably you go Absorb Life, just for more sustain. Should be pretty good on this champ. And then secondary, if you go Essence Reaver, you would go probably... These were the runes that I used to go on Smolder when I went to Essence Reaver. Just helps for laning phase and you get free boots. But if you don't go Essence Reaver and you want mana, then you would go something like this. So I think there's 2 possible builds. One is Essence Reaver, which would just be like Essence Reaver into, I guess, Infinity Edge. And you just play for full crit. And then you go something like Shojin third. Is there any other good crit items, to be honest, on Smolder? To be honest, I mean, Smolder, there's a reason why I put him on GG tier, you know? I don't think there's a lot of good items if you want to go crit. Navori, guys, Navori's an attack speed item. I really don't think Navori is a real item on Smolder. RFC, yeah, I guess. I mean, we're grasping at straws. You feel me? We're grasping at straws. So the crit build is probably not the best, right? So what we can do is one of 2 things, right? Is either we go Essence River into something like this, which can be good, maybe. Can be good, right? Maybe like Trinity second. Something like this could be decent. Or we drop the Essence River entirely and say, fuck you, crit. And we go kind of just exactly what Ezreal is going. And it just looks something like this. Or we just go Mana Immune, Trinity, and Shojin. And then you can even add in some AP items after that, you know, like something like Blackfire Torch if that's good, or like Liandry's, anything like that. You know, you can cook a little bit. But Riot intentionally weakened this build quite a while ago and tried to make Smolder very AD reliant. So I do believe that's a big reason why he is really, really bad right now, because this build would have worked very well in the past. Doesn't work very well anymore. And then we got Sivir. So Sivir, PTA, probably in every game. Bloodline, Presence of Mind, unless you go Essence Reaver, Absorb Life, Cut Down, Q. Doesn't really matter anymore, I think. I think maybe Cut Down is better. Maybe Q is better. I'm not really sure. Both runes are kind of useless, I'm pretty sure. And then for secondary, typically on Sivir, you go something like this, Free Boots and Cosmic, or you go like Absolute Gathering for even more scaling AD. Both are fine. Depends a bit what you need. If you want lower flash cooldown, then Cosmic is nice. And then you would go Essence Reaver first into Navori, and then your build looks something like this at 3 items. Infinity Edge, and yeah, I guess LDR. Right? And now you got kind of your core here that would probably not change much every game. You know, I think she really liked her Kraken from last patch. She doesn't have lethal tempo. Overall, it's not crazy. You do get 100% crit with this, and you do get definitely very high damage. And then as the last item, you can go like BT or GA or just something defensive, situational. Yeah. we'll be pretty fine. So instead of going across the tier list now, I'll just go to champions that I think have this like exact same build, because I think there's a few champions that'll build very, very similar to this. I think Xayah will build very, very similar to this. I think the only difference is Xayah would go maybe IE before going Navori, because like Xayah cares less about attack speed than Vayne does. But other than that, I think very, very similar build. Like maybe you just swap these two up and then you go the other one. And then is there another champion that would buy something like this? We do Senna. So with Senna, I think you just go like Fleet most games. You're gonna go Presence of Mind most games. And typically you just go something like this, Biscuit Deliver and Approach Velocity. Approach Velocity really good with Senna Q and Senna W. And then for the item build, it would be just like, typically I think you would go either IE or Collector first, and then you go the other one second. And then for third item, you're going to be either going for Rapid Fire Cannon or LDR. And it looks something along the lines of this. And you're just playing to have really, really high damage. You don't care that much about the attack speed. The Rapid Fire is just for the added range. It can also look a little bit like this, where you go Rapid Fire fourth. And then the last item would just be a situational defensive item. Cut down over Q on Senna. I think it doesn't really matter which one you choose. They're both pretty bad. 100% crit on Senna. I just think that the crit items are the best items, so that's kind of what you end up building. You can, of course, substitute Collector, for example, for Opportunity or something like that. Like that would be completely fine as well. The only problem is that maybe then you hit IE on kind of low crit and it doesn't, you know, feel that good. But something like this would definitely be good as well to do. This wouldn't be bad. I think maybe this would be even better, because Opportunity you get so much faster. And then if you don't get a BF sword base, it's still really fine for your game, because you're still getting to get your first item quickly and get good bases every time. And then Vayne, I believe, just goes PTA in matchups where she can fight, and then Fleet in matchups where you really need sustain. I think PTA will be your best bet in most games. If you can go it, you're going to be really happy. And then I think like all of these choices are kind of whatever. I think Absorb Life can be nice in lanes where you need sustain. Triumph, good in lanes where you want to fight. And then Presence of Mind, you shouldn't really need this, I think. You shouldn't really be going on Vayne. And then I think you want to go Legend Alacrity, because we will be buying Lifesteal first in most games. And I think this Sudden Impact, this new Sudden Impact, should be pretty decent on Vayne. It just makes your Qs do more damage. It does have a longer cooldown, however. But I think going something like this in runes can be pretty good, or even Treasure Hunter. I'm a big hater of Treasure Hunter though, so I will not be recommending it. I think something like this should be pretty decent. And then for the items, I think just going very similar to last patch, to be honest, where you just go Bork first, into Rageblade, into like maybe Kraken third, something like that. And you have a really, really solid 3 core items here. You can also go Kraken Slayer first, but I think the lifesteal should help you a lot with laning phase. And then for boots, just Berserker Greaves. It looks something like this. And you probably put like a few points into Q, and then you go W max. And I think on Hitler right now is probably the only really way to play Vayne. She lost Stormracer, so she doesn't really have this kind of like crit movement speed build that she had before. And then I think like once you get past this point, you can even go like Trinity Force, maybe even Trinity Force instead of Kraken Slayer to be more tanky. I think that could be fine too. Kraken Slayer is a pretty good item on her as well. You can go PD. There's definitely a lot of options after you get your, I think just like Bork, Rageblade are the core. And then after that, you can go like PD, you can go Trinity Force, you can go Kraken. You have a lot more options. You can kind of test out what feels good for you and also build according to the game state. Like if they have a lot of armor, Randuins can be really good. If they have like a lot of AP, then Wit's End can even be fine. You know, there's definitely a lot of adaptation you can make when you play Vayne, but it's gonna look quite similar just playing on hit style every game. Varus has like a few possibility of builds right now. I think he has a very similar build to Vayne without the Triforce though, just that you go on hit with Bork into Rageblade with Berserker Grips, and then you would go PTA for it. I think PTA is pretty good on hit Varus. And the runes would look very similar to Vayne, something like this, either Absorb Life or Presence of Mind. And then like secondary, either Resolve Overgrowth Conditioning would be fine, or you could go Free Boots and Biscuits, or you could even go fucking full scaling. You have quite a few options in the rune section. And then the other build that got quite nerfed this patch is the Halo Blades, which would look something like this. But this Halo Blades got nerfed for range this patch. It's only now 80% bonus attack speed. I mean, you guys have probably seen it. If you watch competitive in the last few months, you've seen this build every single game. It's just like Opportunity, Yumus, Manamune, like Cyrilda, and you got yourself a Varus build. So this lethality build I think it's pretty weak right now in solo queue. It's kind of hard to carry with. And overall, it kind of feels like crit items now do the same as lethality does, but better. Because crit items now have so much burst that it just doesn't really make sense, right? That's actually true. You can definitely go Comet on Varus. That's not bad. Definitely a good adaptation to go Comet. Look something like this, or you can go Scorch for a stronger laning phase. We can go Absolute Focus as well. You have a few options. I do think, though, just in general, that with two things that happened, one is improved sustain through Absorb Life, and also the buffed crit items that Varus can't abuse, that he doesn't have a great time this patch. Then we have MF. Yeah, PTA with something like this. And then for secondary, I really like free boots and biscuits on MF. And then you'd just be going full AD stacking. I think I think if you're still buying lethality on MF, you're trolling. I really think this is the best MF build that I can think of in my brain. It would be just very similar to what Draven is building. Just fucking go, you know? If you go these items, I refuse to believe that you're not one-shotting people. And you just sit on tier 1 boots, and maybe you upgrade it to Berserkers. But you upgrade it like later, you know? But I really feel like with these items, you would be so strong. So strong. Perma having a big-ass shield. You can stack BF swords. You get so much AD. 165 AD. You know, you're getting a lot of shield, so you can keep up your W. And you just get a ton of AD and a ton of crit at the same time, and some lethality and armor pen, and you're very happy. And that's why, like, I feel like if once people start building this on a map, people will understand that she's actually not too bad. And then we have Samira. I think Samira, Conquer, Triumph, you're like full fist fighting champ, last stand. I think there's two possible second routes, either sudden impact and eyeball collection I like. I think eyeball collection is nicer than anything in this third tree. And the other option is Conditioning Overgrowth. Both is pretty fine. This gives you a nice amount of tankiness later on in the game. And Samira's a champion that loves to dash in, so the tankiness is pretty decent. But I think this is fine for snowballing as well. And then your items are going to be kind of similar to MF, to be honest, just in the sense that you're just stacking AD. I think you either go Collector or IE first. It kind of depends on your buys. Let's say if you base on 900 gold, you buy pickaxe, obviously, right? And then you base on 1.3k gold, okay, you buy BF sword. And then your next base is like 1.2k gold. Might as well buy IE, you know what I mean? So it depends a bit on what bases you get. But if you get like a 700 gold base, you know, we're gonna buy 2 longswords and start building towards collector. So you adapt a bit based on that, but both items are really core, I think, on Samira. And then after that, you're just gonna be going like LDR, if they've started buying armor already. If they have LDR, if they have armor, then LDR. If not, I think something like Yuntal. Just really stacking high AD items and trying to abuse that. And then you go BT after. I don't think you go BT before you get 100% crit. Yuntal applies on hits. It doesn't apply on the Q, but as far as I understand it, it should apply on the ult. You can also go BT 4. It doesn't work on the ult? It should work on the ult. The ult can crit. Okay, I guess don't buy Yuntal then. I played Samira, but I didn't get to buy Yuntal, so I didn't test it out on practice tool. I just assumed that it works because on the ult tooltip, it says that the ult can crit, and it says on hits that crit. But sure, I think something like this then, something like this. And you can't even go the forbidden item. This item can be fine. This item can be fine. Because if you need the shield, no, it's a pretty decent item. It's still kind of low AD. Gives a shield. That gives crit. We got Lucian. Just something like this I think is good. And secondary runes. Oh, I guess sudden impact could be decent on Lucian. But typically you go like inspiration because you kind of run Something like this. And then for items, I think you can either go full one-shot, which would be just like Collector IE. After the ER buff, I think something like ER into IE, into E, even Nabori. And then something like BT or for something like that. And then Lucidity Boots, or actually probably Berserker Graves when you're going such a crit heavy build, would be good. Something like this, I think could be fine. You can, of course, substitute the Essence River for Collector. I think this should be pretty nice. You get a high amount of crit. You can also go Yuntal, I guess. But actually, Yuntal has really good synergy with his passive. So Yuntal can be good. I know Yuntal procs like twice on his passive autos. Even Yuntal here could be fine, and you go Nabori 4th, but Nabori is so cheap that probably you want to go Nabori 3rd. I don't think you're ever gonna go Shiv or Kraken or anything like that. I think you can go Rapid Fire over Nabori for sure if they're like long range and you're just dashing to like poke. Also, if you have Nami, maybe the build looks a little bit something like this. I think it's probably still Essence River first if you have Nami. Because there's not really a cheap first item that I can think of that works that well and gives you crit. The cheapest crit first item that you could go, what would that be? Or I guess it would be Rapid Fire. Collector is 3.2, it's the same as Essence River. So there's no real cheap items to get. So I think the build is just either Collector or Essence River first. Maybe Collector is better with Nami. We got Kalista. The Kalista, PTA, I think, every game. Then like Absorb Life should be pretty fine. Or Triumph, like Fist Fight. Legend Alacrity, because you're going to be buying Lifesteal. first. I really like Conditioning Overgrowth and Kalista, but Domination, kind of similar to Samira, is fine too. And Last Stand is going to be really nice as well. And then we just want to buy on-hit items, kind of similar to Vayne. We just go Bork into Rageblade with rushing Berserker Greaves whenever we can. You can also go Lethality with Kalista still, but I don't think I'd recommend it. I wouldn't recommend it. I think there's just other better champions. And Hail Blades got nerfed as well, so I think on-hit Kalista is going to be the way to go. And then for third item, something like Hurricane could be nice. Hurricane is really cheap now. Something like Jack Show, if you want to be tanky, could be nice. Something like Wit's End, if they're really heavy magic damage, can be nice. Even Kraken Slayer could be something. Terminus, if they have armor, is nice. BT could be okay. I have a lot of options. Probably something like this is going to look pretty standard in most of your games. And then we have Kog'Maw, which I think has probably pretty much the same build and runes, to be honest. Maybe Presence of Mind instead of Triumph, and Conditioning Overgrowth instead of Domination. The items, I think, very, very similar. You can go Kraken Slayer first, but I do think Bork is better. You can also go Rageblade first, but I think Bork is better. I think Bork is a really solid first item right now. And then after this, it's very similar to Kalista in that just you can go Jack Show, you can go Randuin's, you can go Wit's End, you can go for GA, you can go even like Sonya's. You can go so many different items, depending on what you feel like you need in the game. You can go Runans, yeah, true. Like you have a lot of options, You can go Navori, you know, you have a lot of different options after you get your core completed. But I think this core is going to be very similar every single game. Nilah. The Nilah, I think, goes Conquer. I mean, if you want to Conquer last patch, and Conquer hasn't changed. I think Absorb Life is pretty nice on her, just to give her extra sustain in lane. That's kind of her biggest counterplay is poking her out of lane. I'm also a big fan of Conditioning Overgrowth on Nilah. I think Conditioning Overgrowth on ADCs in general pretty underrated. I think going Domination second is fine too though. But I really like this as it just gives you more tankiness, and you're an ADC that's a melee champ. So going melee range is really, or going melee range, I mean tankier, helps a lot. And then for first item, I think it's very similar to Samira, where it just depends what you get gold for first, and then you go the other one third. So I think you're just going to be going LDR or IE or Collector first. So it depends what gold you get. Ideally, I think probably Collector first is going to feel a little bit nicer. Since you get Dirk, it's going to depend on, you know, your buys. If you get 700 gold buy, then you can buy longswords. If you get 1.3k, then you can buy BF sword. If you get 900, then you get pickaxe, and then maybe you have to go IE. I think both are really good. IE first item is definitely really strong this patch. And then after this, I think you're just going to go either like BT, even shield bow can be found on this champ. Not sure about Yuntal. Yuntal is probably not the best. Navori could be fine, but it's a full attack speed item, and Nilah doesn't care that much about attack speed. And then for boots, you're just going to be going plated steel caps if they're AD heavy, and merc treads if they're AP heavy. And then we do Xayah. So Xayah has a few different possibilities for builds. Let's first do like the ADC builds, and then we can do more the AP builds. For the ADC build, I think it would look a little bit something like this maybe. Where you're going PTA, Q, Inspiration second, just like because you like biscuits, you like free boots. And then for your items, I think you can do, you have two options, I think. Either, you have a few options, I guess. One thing is to say, fuck this shit, I want to go full fucking crit, you know? I want to do full crit. I think if this is the best Xayah build, Xayah kind of sucks as a champ. I think Xayah needs more hybrid type of items, and not just pure raw AD and lethality to really be strong. And I think there's other champions that do this better than Xayah does. So one build that I think could be good, or there's two possible ways you can then do this. Either you can go Kraken Slayer and then go like IE Navori, but maybe you wouldn't buy the full IE, right? It would be look kind of a little bit something like, let's find it here. It would look a little bit something like this, where you buy the BF sword for Q evolve, and then you go Navori for E evolve, and you go something like this. I think this could be something. This could be something, and that could be decent. Or the other way you could do it is to just say, I don't care about crit at all, and go for full type of on-hit style of gameplay. Where you either go Rageblade Terminus, or you go Rageblade Nashor's Tooth, and you transition into an AP build. And I think both of those are viable options for sure. When I tried it out, it didn't feel that crazy. And you're also not really getting much benefit out of this new patch at all. I guess the new Kraken Slayer is better than the previous Static Shiv. There's definitely a few options that you have for the AD build. But for me, none of them really stand out and look incredibly good, to be honest. And then there's kind of the old, the LS build that I've talked about before, which I think it should still be, you know, pretty good. Something like this, I guess. And then you just go Manamune into Ludens. Ludens should now be better on Xayah. Into Cryptbloom, into Rabadon. And you go Lucidity Boots or Sork Shoes if you're kind of like solo AP. But Lucidity Boots, I think most of the time is better for more W. And this build is very low AD. It's pretty much all about just W spam. And if your W lands, you kill people. If not, you're kind of useless. I think this build should be weaker this patch, as crit items have gotten stronger. Should still be a fine option to go for. There's a reason I put Kai'Sa in C tier. That's all I'm saying. Tristana. Should have made like a checklist or something so that I didn't get lost. So I think Tristana can either go Hail of Blades, so something like this maybe, or she just goes PTA, which I think most of the time is going to be the better option, where it would look something like this. And then for items, you're just going to be going, I think, either Kraken first or IE first. I'm more inclined to believing that IE first is better, even though when you, like most people are still going Kraken first on Tristana. But I think something like Kraken into Navori into LDR would be pretty solid on Tristana. And you got something, build a little bit like this, that gives you a fair amount of AD, fair amount of attack speed, armor pan, all for the cost of 10k gold, not too shabby. And then like you go either BT4 or even Yuntal could be fine. Or it's so awkward that there's no like lifesteal crit option, you know? Like always you would want the lifesteal crit option at this stage of the game, but you gotta pick and choose. I think something like this. Or if you wanted to go Kraken Slayer first, it would look something like this, right? Which would also be fine. Aphelios. So Aphelios, he can go all three runes. If they're most games though, you're gonna go PTA. I think PTA is the best. Fleet is good if you have a really hard laning phase and you're gonna be struggling. Conquer is good if they're mega tanky. Like they have tank top, tank jungle, tank support. If you don't need mega sustain, they don't have mega tanks, go PTA, OP. And your runes are gonna look something like this. Secondary sorcery, super OP to get 80 stacking on Aphelios going. Then your first item is gonna be either Kraken or either Collector or IE. I think don't go Collector if they're super tanky. If they're squishy, Collector is really good. Berserker Veers are going to be your boots of choice. You're not going to go Navori, but you're going to go LDR. And then you're going to go Yuntal 4th, and then BT, something like this. I think you can also go Hurricane instead of Yuntal, or even PD if you really want attack speed. Like maybe if they're really tanky, a potential build could look something like this, where you have Yuntal here, something like this. This could be really good against tanks. But if they're not tanky, then I think Collector takes this Yuntal spot right here. Or Yuntal can take the Hurricane spot. Kind of depends on what you want in the game. But overall, I think just like getting Infinity Edge really early, stacking AD is going to be your main objective. And overall, really strong champ right now and has a lot of good items to buy. And I need to test Hurricane and PD a bit more to see like how good they actually are. But I do think now Hurricane with 55% 80 physical damage bolts can be really good in the team comps that clump up. But at the same time, stacking even more AD through like Yuntal can be really good. Ashe. I think Ashe goes PTA, I guess, every game. I mean, she could go Fleet some games, but I don't think you need Fleet. And then Inspiration, something like this. Approach Velocity, really good on Ashe. Your build is going to look a little bit either PD or Hurricane here. An attack speed item, one of these two. Should be pretty solid. And with Kraken as your first item rush, and then Infinity Edge, and then a Zeal item. And then after that, it's going to be pretty situational with either LDR or BT or defensive item can even be fine. Or even Yuntal can be fine, I guess. It's something like that. Something defensive or something game specific after you complete this core, and you should be pretty strong. You could also go for on-hit route, but I do believe just crit should be better. It should just be better, in my opinion, as the crit items got such big buffs. Then we got Twitch. I think Twitch has actually a very similar build to this, but instead of going Kraken first, he goes for Bork. But his runes are going to look something like this. And then instead of Kraken first, go Blade of the Rune King first. but something like this I think is really good on Twitch. And then after that, it's going to be super, like situational. If they have armor, you're going to go LDR. If they don't have armor, maybe you're going to go Yuntal or BT if you want lifesteal, or probably something like that. Really strong 3 cores, and you get to really spike on these items. You have a good spike on first item and a big spike on third item. Then we have Jinx. So for Jinx, I think you're going to go fleet in nearly every game, and your runes can look a little bit something like this. And then we're going to go for a first item Infinity Edge. But I think something that can be pretty good on Jinx is doing a little bit something like this, where you kind of, it depends on your buys, right? If you get like BF Sword, you buy BF Sword. If you have 900 gold, you go Pickaxe. But if you have 600 gold, maybe you go like Dagger Boots. And then maybe you build into Zeal, and your build looks a little bit something like this. And then you end up getting Hurricane after that. Like Hurricane if they're melee heavy, PD if not. And then you go LDR, probably in every game. And then either BT or Yuntal for your last, get 100% crit. BT if you want lifesteal, Yuntal if you want the most damage. I think you could even opt to go another Zeal item instead of Yuntal if you wanted to get a cheaper item and also just play for more attack speed. Now we're doing Corki. Corki. I think PTA, I'm actually not sure. On Corki, you can go First Strike. Could be an option. Could definitely be an option. Something like this. I think PTA could be an option. Something like this. Fleet could be an option. Secondary rune, something like this. I think all of these are all fine, viable options. 100% sure what should be best. We'll have to experiment a little bit more. Maybe in free lanes, First Strike is good. Lanes where you need sustain, Fleet should be good. And lanes where you're fighting, PTA will be good. Probably something like that is what I would guess would happen. And then for his build, I think the best build should be something like Essence Retriever into Infinity Edge, and then into either Rapid Fire or Yuntal or LDR. So something. Where's LDR? LDR is here. Yuntal is here. So something like this. You can also go Trinity, but I think Trinity is a bit bait. But maybe you go something like this can be fine as well. Where you go Essence River, IE, Trinity, LDR. Essence River is so expensive, or Trinity is so expensive. The Spellblade is definitely nice. So it does have its value for sure. I think if you can afford it, it's nice, you know, it's nice. I think Essence River should be pretty good on Corki now, especially after Essence River got buffed. It's now 70 AD. And overall, it just feels like an item that was kind of designed to be Corki item, because he really wants to spam spells and you can spam rockets on every wave. And I think it'll be good. I think the build will look something like this, where Trinity Force can be slotted with either Rapid Fire or Yuntal. Zeri. So Zeri, I was talking about earlier, she has a really popular build right now in Korea. And the build looks a little bit something like this. This is what people in Korea have been going. But I think you should go Absorb Life instead of Triumph. I think Absorb Life should be pretty good on Zeri. And then for secondary, you want to go either Absolute Gathering or Conditioning Resolve. Both are fine. Sorcery maybe a little bit better. And then Navori. And a third item is going to be Infinity Edge. This build has been doing very well in Korea. This guy was rank 1 earlier and has been climbing a lot playing Zeri. Or maybe it was the other guy. I think it was this guy that was rank 1 playing Zeri. But you can see both of these players have a really good win rate on Zeri, and I've been doing really well on it. And it's been a build that a lot of people in Korea are testing and experimenting with. And it's a build that I tried out myself as well. That felt pretty good. And then for last item, just something like LDR should be pretty solid. There is another build that people were talking about that I think can be good, which looks a little bit something like this, which sounds really troll, but I think it can be good. And then you go like, you complete the Hurricane, you complete Navori, and then maybe you go like LDR. Like they actually nerfed Zeal stacking on the patch, but I actually still think that Zeal stacking isn't bad. It was really OP, but I still think it's pretty decent. 3 Zeals, definitely overkill. I agree with that. But maybe you go something like this, you know? Something like this I think could be pretty decent, where you go 2 Zeals into Hurricane, into LDR, and then Navori. Or maybe it looks more like this, where you go Navori, and then, you know, or maybe it's more like this, you know? Or, yeah. But I think this can definitely be good. When I was hitting on a Zeal, when I played Aphelios, that felt really good. I do think a lot of these crit champions just sitting on a Zeal, it's gonna feel pretty good. Caitlyn. So for Caitlyn, I think you can either go Fleet with Presence of Mind, Bloodline, and Cut Down. I mean, Cut Down Coup, both kind of same. and then Absolute Focus Gathering Storm. Or you can go First Strike, which I tried out myself and it felt pretty good. And you go Gathering Storm, Absolute Focus Secondary as well. Your items are going to look pretty similar to some of the other like high 80 crit champions, where you're just playing to stack as much AD as possible and get as much damage as you can. So if you can get Collector first into IE, into LDR, into either BT or Yuntal, and you're going to be doing a shit ton of damage. And yeah, you're gonna be pumping out DPS. And you should, one thing to keep in mind with the new First Strike. So with the new First Strike, it gives you more gold when you proc it now. It gives you 15 instead of 5, but it gives you less of your converted damage to gold. So a little tip, if you're playing with First Strike, try to perma-proc it, even if it's just one auto attack. Because every time you proc it, that's 15 gold, which is really, really good. So just try to proc it on its little damage. The damage doesn't really matter that much. Just the act of proccing it is really what's going to give you the gold now. So that's what we're going to focus on. Need to also mention that rapid fire is really good. So for example, if they are playing a long range comp and you don't really care about LDR, or you are fine with delaying your LDR, I think something like this is going to be really good. Rapid fire on Kate is still a really good item because yes, it lost AD, but it's just so cheap that, you know, it's going to be synergizing really well with your other AD you've already bought. And it's also a great item to buy when you're snowballing because it just really chokes the enemy out and makes it so hard for them to approach you. And then we have Jhin. We're going to be going Fleet, Presence of Mind, Legend Bloodline, Absolute Focus, Gathering Storm. And we're going to be going very similar build to Caitlyn. Instead of going Berserker Greavestar, we're going to go Boots of Swifties. Same as Caitlyn, you know, we can either go Yuntal or Rapid Fire. Both are going to be fine. Maybe even LDR third can be fine. But the goal is just to get to 100% crit and get a ton of AD and just one-shot people, kinda. This is going to give you a lot of stats. IE first is fine as well. It's same with Caitlyn and same with all the other champs. It kind of depends on what buys you get. These items are kind of interchangeable, but they just are both really high AD items. Both are BF sword items, and they kind of synergize well with each other in that you just do a shit ton of damage when you get both of them. Yeah, I mean, I would probably always go Rapid Fire instead of Yuntal, to be honest. I think Yuntal is probably not that great, and then after you get Rapid Fire, probably something like BT. So this would probably be my go-to Jhin build, and if they're not tanky, probably I go this, and if they are tanky, you know, you just swap like that. Really easy and simple. But this should be your go-to, I think, in most games, and then maybe in some games, instead of BT, going to be going for Guardian Angel instead, and that's the like most adaptation probably that you'll do on Jhin, and it has like a little nice set build. And then we have Draven, my beloved. I think Draven builds very similar to MF, as I was talking about earlier, that you go BT Rush. And why do you go BT Rush? Because so Draven works in that he wants to perma-play aggro and hit you, right? And punish you. And what BT allows him to do is do that so incredibly well, because he can take really bad trades and he only needs 2 to 3 auto attacks on the wave to be back to full HP and even get a shield. So because his axes do so much damage, you get so much healing from the lifesteal that you just become untradeable with, and you become so strong. So maybe your build would look something like this, where you go like 2 BF swords into BT, into IE, into like either into like Collector, into LDR, something like this. Something like this I think would be good. And then maybe like Yuntal last item, and it's just like mwah, beautiful, beautiful. Rapid Fire is not terrible on Draven, but Zeal doesn't give like Draven that much. PTA, if they're kind of squishy, is pretty decent. I know somebody was like, Draven win rate has better win rate with Conquer, but if you look at the actual sample size, it's kind of like yes, Draven has higher win rates with Conqueror, but it's like 10% and 70% are going PTA. Like all the noobs are going PTA, so of course, like Conqueror will have a better win rate. I think PTA is still the better rune in most games, but I do think if you're versus a team where you can auto attack a shit ton, Conqueror is going to be good. Conqueror is going to be good. In most of your games, if you're not going to be able to do that, Conqueror is just not going to have much value. To get full value out of Conqueror, you need to auto attack 12 times. So many auto attacks, you know? And melee champions get the value of Conqueror in like 2 seconds, you know? Halo Blades, I think is kind of dead. Halo Blades, I think is kind of dead. I think you'd rather go PTA tree. And I also think going Presence of Mind is going to be really good now, since you're not going any mana item, since you're not going SSR anymore. And then Last Stand is going to do pretty well. And I really like Sorcery second on Draven. I know some people like Domination, something like this. I don't like it. I really like stacking pure AD on Draven, same as like Aphelios. And I feel like this gives you guaranteed AD no matter what. And it's just so nice to have. And you're going to want to go Alacrity instead of Bloodline because you're rushing a lifesteal item. And yeah, you build and runes look something like this or something like this, and you're going to be popping. You're going to be popping. That's it, I think, for all the ADC builds. I didn't do any of the builds for the mages that I included in the tier list, but I'm sure you guys are fine without it. I'm pretty sure all of the mages in bot lane have like 1% play rate anyways, so probably none of you guys will be playing it. I hope you guys are now able to climb with some of these new champs. Season 14, patch 14.10. Split 2 with the new reworked ADCs. Guys, the best of luck.